Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and here to address this matter with me is Mr. Xeon.
Whoa, hey! I almost sped right past you. I was
Whoa!
so
And
stoked.
going not quite as quickly, Mr. Felix.
Yeah, I'm here now. Hello, it's Slow Sonic here.
Yes, now, we... There's a bit of a hotly debated topic at the moment, and that topic is Sonic Frontiers. It's been, I don't want to say the most divisive game that I've ever sort of worked with, if that makes any sense. But by Jove, it's got to be up there. So, for example, Xeon and I, we played the game, and we genuinely really like it. Like, it has some problems, which I have some problems with it, which I will address. Absolutely, it's not a perfect game. But my God, I've had more fun with it than I ever thought I would do. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Felix, who didn't enjoy it so much, should we say. And I do want to address the fact that the review on our website, nintendolife.com, one of our colleagues, Ollie, reviewed it, and he very much didn't have a good time with it, and he gave it a 4 out of 10. Now, even though I don't share Ollie's opinion, I do fully respect it. And I've spoken to him about it, not accusatory or anything like that, but just to get an idea. And from what he described, yeah, I can see why he had the opinion that he did. But it hasn't stopped me liking the game an awful lot. I'm so wary of saying I love the game because I think I do, but at the same time, feels weird to say that about a new Sonic game. Either way, Felix, what don't you like about Sonic Forces, and why do you hate Sonic?
Well, I want to come off the bat to say I've not played any 3D Sonic games before, and that might be why I don't enjoy this game as much. Now, please, if you like the game, that's totally fine. Like, everyone should be able to have everyone's opinions. I feel what's wrong is when people say that your opinion is wrong. I feel like I should be able to not like the game, but I've not really gone on the internet and said, hey, I don't like Sonic, because I've seen a lot of people be very mean about it. So what I don't like about the game, well, first off, it's just exactly what I feared it would be. I don't know, I just don't... I don't like running around as Sonic. I don't like how he feels. I feel it's very clunky. I think I would enjoy the game much more if I didn't play it on Switch, because it doesn't run... Like, it runs okay. I can see, like, people expected it to run worse, because people have been praising it online. I personally don't think it runs very well. It just doesn't look very good, and the frame rate, especially when you're supposed to feel very fast, the 30 frames per second really, like, puts it down, in my opinion. I feel it gets very repetitive quickly with how you have to collect stuff. You have to collect this, so you can open this, and then you have to collect more stuff to open this, and it's just not very good at explaining how the controls work. I feel like a lot of the times you have to die, and then it gives you a little tip. Oh, you can do this. Yeah, I was just not a big fan of it. I can understand why people would like it, it's just not my cup of tea.
I think you hit on a number of interesting and very pivotal reasons that I personally believe is the reason that the game is so divisive, because it's not even just an internal Nintendo Life thing. Although we do have another colleague who also absolutely hated the game. But then we've got other colleagues that absolutely love the game as well. It's a really weird thing, and to be honest, it's absolutely fascinating, to be honest.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just us. There are reviews that are absolutely praising it to the nth degree, saying it's the best Sonic's been in, sort of 20 years, and other reviews that are saying that it's absolutely unforgivably bad. And I think what it comes down to is you said that you don't like the way that Sonic controls. And I think that's it, honestly. I think there's a sort of an expectation. Xeon and I, we've both played a lot of Sonic, a lot of 3D Sonic, a lot of 2D Sonic. So we have certain expectations and understandings of what to expect in terms of the movement and the controls. And also, because we played so much before, we know what to expect. And we like that movement, that almost sort of... You're not so much fighting against the controls, but you're fighting against the speed. But at the same time, you want to maintain that speed, and it's balancing between that. And if that's not your cup of tea, you are not going to have a good time with this game. I'll tell you that for free. But Xeon, tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth. You like that, don't you?
I do, and there's just something that I was just thinking about as I was listening to you talk, and you know how there's that saying about like, I don't know what the exact saying is, but the idea of the saying that's in my head is that like humans aren't supposed to have control of certain things. I think it's kind of like how animals like maybe aren't supposed to be tamed, even though lots of people think they should be, and but I guess what I'm trying to say is I wonder if Sonic's speed is maybe like not meant to be mastered by anyone. And I'm not saying that's why the game is like janky at times, but what I mean is I've had this happen multiple times, and probably everybody that's played Sonic Frontiers has, I would imagine. And Alex, you can tell me what your experience is like, but sometimes you'll be running around and things will be going great, and you'll be climbing a tower, or you have just gone off a ramp and you'll be going in a direction, and you'll be holding the analog stick straight, you'll go flying in a different direction, or you won't homing attack in the way that you wanted to or something, and the game just doesn't let you do what you wanted to do. And I think because of those moments, like when you do go soaring across the screen in the direction that you intended, and you hit all of these different like ramps and boost pads and springs, and everything just works, it feels really good. And I think like maybe it's kind of like you said, you and I, Alex, have played a lot of 3D Sonic, like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Like I just played Sonic 3D Blast the other day, and I love that game.
Is that really a 3D Sonic game though?
It actually, I kind of thought about doing a video on it, but I was like, I don't have time. Who am I kidding? But but it kind of is. I guess it depends who you ask. But you know, we've seen Sonic go through these different stages of 3D, and I think it's really special to see where he's at now. So I mean, I think there is a bit of appreciation that we might have for that too. But you know, we've seen all, like I said, all the different stages, and it's been rough at times, but it really feels like you can really get moving and do a lot of like cool stuff with Sonic's moveset now, and that freedom is, you know, it does open itself up to a lot of accidents, you go off course pretty often, but yeah, when you manage to pull off something really cool, it feels pretty neat, I think.
I think for me, the reason, because yeah, I've played enough Sonic Force. I knew I'd say Sonic Forces at some point. I've played enough Sonic Frontiers that I've gone careening off the edge when I fully intended not to. But I don't actually find that irritating, because it feels like it was my fault. I think the game is responsive enough, at least to me, it is responsive enough that I, you know, sort of, yeah, I'm going ridiculously fast, and yes, that's hard to control, but if something goes wrong, it's on me. I mean, there are some glitches where I have things like I've been going so fast that I've gone through springs instead of hitting them, but it's been of no consequence. And so when I do go off, I actually kind of, I wouldn't say I love it when I go off, but it does just sort of, it brings me joy to just see Sonic just go, whoa, just completely off the edge, and just, I don't know, I find some joy in it. It doesn't feel like the game's punishing me. It feels like I've made a mistake.
See, I don't feel like that. I feel like a lot of the times I'm trying to go the path, and then it just throws me off, and I'm just standing there.
But despite everything that I like about the game and everything that I love about the game, I do still have some issues. I'm sure, Felix, there are some things that you... I mean, there must be things you like about the game.
Oh yeah, I mean, the gameplay loop is there, you know. Even though I find it repetitive, I can totally see why other people would like that. And I can see the charm in it, that you have to collect this, to collect that, and then you can enter cyberspace. And yeah, running around in the open world, that can be fun. It's just, when I control Sonic, it just doesn't feel quite right. I fall off rails, maybe I'm just not very good at the game, but when you eventually do get that groove of going off springs, going off rails, that is fun. It's just, I don't enter that very often, and that's why I don't like it overall.
Yeah, and I think that's, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, that's the crux. If you know, sort of, I think it would be foolish for anyone to say that they can't see how it's fun, or just at least very narrow-minded of people. But I do understand it is Sonic can feel, I suppose, slippery. But the thing is that I think maybe it's just because I've played so much, but I can compensate for that, you know? And I think maybe that, you know, if you can master the game, I would say maybe the game isn't as accessible as it could be. I mean, it is. You can change the speed manually in the options, which is frankly ridiculous, and I think really bold that they put that in. But if you do bring Sonic's speed right down, it's the speed that makes it fun, you know? Running around at a slower speed is okay, but it's not that much fun. And so if you can't master that, you can still play the game and it is accessible and you can complete the game, but it makes it much more of a slog.
Well, there's kind of a magic to figuring out the boost as well. Like the first hour or two that I played of the game, I didn't even realize the boost button was a thing. And like, no joke. But I've played quite a few hours now, so I've learned. But I've noticed that, like, especially in those, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the term, but the stages that you go into that feel like classic zones from
Cyberspace.
Yeah, look, both of you crushing it. Yeah, cyberspace. So when you go into those, I feel like the constant need to press the boost button, and I've learned after trial and error that that's not the best thing to do, but to time it in certain places. Like there are times to boost and there are times not to, and I found that like the levels are short enough that, and maybe you guys have noticed this too, but the levels are short enough that it doesn't really like feel like you're wasting your time, or it's too soul crushing to like boost wrong and fall off the level, or take the wrong, not take the wrong path, but you know, miss a shortcut or something like that, because you can go back and try it right away. And once you really get that speed down, like it feels so good. There's one of the early levels is 1-2, I think, which feels like we're talking about a Mario game right now. But that,
I grinded that on the stream. I did.
Oh,
the
did you?
Stream.
Did you get the S rank?
I got the S.
Ooh,
yeah,
good
it
job.
was honestly one of the most exhilarating things I've done in games in a long time.
Yeah,
it was just and I can understand how that could, for so many people, could just be a frustrating. Why is it so hard? This is ridiculous. And I think it probably maybe is slightly too hard, but for me, in a very personal, very selfish way, I absolutely adored that grind, you know, trying my best to just shave off little bits here and there, you know, milliseconds here, milliseconds there, and get to the goal within a stupidly short amount of time. I absolutely adored it.
And I'm curious then how both of you feel, because I was talking with a friend online about how, like, that level is nail-bitingly hard, but it's built really well, and you do have to play it over and over again to probably get that score.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorite parts of that, like, that kept me coming back to it and enjoying it, was the music in that track, but in those stages alone. So where do you guys fall with the music? Like, is it the kind of thing that you want to throw on in the background? Do you not care? Have you not noticed? Like,
The music is good. I can't take that away from the game.
The music is absolutely marvelous, frankly.
I would say it's probably one of my favorite things from the game, all things considered.
I mean, Sonic can have, Sonic games can be really rough. Like, they can be really rough, but pretty consistently the soundtracks are pretty damn fantastic.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Supersonic Racing.
Okay, yeah, that's the exception. Although it is wonderful in its own right.
You don't like it? That's like that's such a banger.
It's such a meme song. I love it for how rough it is, but
no, just the whole
Can
soundtrack
you
of that
feel
game
the
is
sunshine?
so
you
good.
feel the
As it
sunshine.
brightens up your day.
I mean, the game looks wonky as hell, but the soundtrack, it's so good.
But there are things, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of my own grievances with the game, and I do have them. And unfortunately, they came later on in the game for me, and it was on the third island, Chaos Island.
Yeah?
So throughout the first two islands, you have this huge open environment, and you have these little, floating sort of sections with grind rails and boosts and pads and runnable bits of wall and stuff like that. And you just go around, you get one of those memory tokens. Bish bash bosh, I love that. It's great fun. In Chaos Island, a lot of them, and a lot, if not all, well, no, not all, absolutely, but a lot of the cyberspace levels and these little challenges within the world lock you into 2D. The cyberspace levels, they're just not fun there. I mean, some of them are fine, but there was this one level that was based on Angel Island, and it was just like floating platforms are going up and down. Time your jumps, stop, wait, jump, stop, wait, jump. And that's just not fun. And there were no rings for the first section of the course. And then suddenly, there's a beginner trap. Bang! An enemy just appears out of nowhere, out of your field of view, and is very likely to kill you. Genuinely bad level design.
It's interesting the contrast, like how some are built so well, and then others are not.
Yeah, I think 1-2 is a masterpiece. And there are so many of the other... All the levels that I love the most are the 3D ones, where Sonic's running, there's one that's based on Green Hill Zone, not the first one you do, but it's actually a bit of a longer level. It's like, I think it's like, at a guess, it's like 2 minutes 40 for an S or something like that. And it's great fun. It's based, I think, off, I can't remember the name of it. Oh, Skyrail. From Sonic Adventure 2, the shadow level. Yeah, I mean, it's not one-to-one, obviously, but there's a lot of elements that carry over, like the springs that have the propellers on them. You've got like a kind of a rocket type thing. It's very clearly inspired, and you like start on a rail. That was an amazing level. I love that. But the thing that really rubs me up the wrong way is the like little open world like mini challenges that stick you in 2D because you can't escape it. If you accidentally hit a boost pad or something like that, you think, oh, I'll hit this boost pad. Where does it take me? And it locks you into 2D. And you can be in those sections for 40 seconds, a minute, and that's not a long time overall, but in a Sonic game, that's a lifetime. And considering I don't like the 2D that much in this game, particularly some sections, the physics for 3D Sonic don't just carry over to 2D. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it?
But I felt I was locked in, and it's like, I don't want to be here. And for a game where it's most fun when you're having complete freedom and just running around and going wherever you want, doing anything your way, to be locked into a 2D section is absolutely infuriating. And I ended up avoiding those a lot of the time because I just didn't want to do them.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, Felix, do you think that if you
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I don't want to say it's obvious, but I think if you had past Sonic experiences, maybe you'd feel different about the game. But do you think it's the kind of thing that if you just like spent, I'm not saying you should do this either, but do you, but do you think if you spent more time with the game too, like, just like got to grips more with like what Sonic can do, what he can't do, do you think you would have more fun with it? Or do you think it is the sort of thing that it's just like you like wish you were just playing other games?
I tried to jump into it today just because we were doing the talk, and I just really didn't have fun. I was like, no, I don't want to play this. Like, I find it hard to I don't want to force myself to play a game I don't like.
Yeah,
and
of course not.
I don't know, I chose to go with, there's you can play in action and you can play in speed. And I started off with action and it felt really slow. I genuinely hated it there. And then I switched to speed and it was much more fun. And I don't know if that has something to do with how people are experiencing the game.
It's possible.
But I still wish sometimes that Sonic just feels a bit slow. I mean, for Christ's sake, the seagulls fly faster than Sonic.
That is so weird, though, isn't it?
You've seen Donkey's video as well.
I do like that they always just appear.
But I think that's a good example of another person for whom the game just doesn't gel. And you're not alone, Felix. This is the whole thing. It's a divisive game. And even though I have these, reservations about the game, the 2D sections, I just don't want any of the 2D in there at all, to be honest. If it, some of it's fine, but, other bits, less so.
I mean, I really don't like the cyberspace levels. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a skill issue, but I feel like a lot of the times I get stopped and then I fall off and then I have to restart and then...
I don't blame you either, though. Like, the controls seem to... Or maybe it's Sonic's movement is different in there. I think I saw someone online talking about that as well, is that they felt his his momentum and just everything, like the mechanics were changed for those. And and then while playing, I was like, oh, I think they're right. But I don't blame you, because like you, like Alex was saying, sometimes the camera will get locked in a certain place in those games, and you can't always see what's ahead of you, or like it can just be awkward, and it can be kind of punishing at times too. So so I don't blame you for not being the biggest fan of those.
But despite all that, despite all my grievances, all of my reservations, you can talk about things like the pop-in. Yeah, that's not great, but all of these things, with the exception, I think, of Chaos Island because it was inescapable, just weren't a big deal to me. I was having too much fun. It's a little bit like Pokemon Legends Arceus. You could argue that game looks very basic. It doesn't run very well. But I had so much fun with it. It just completely... That stuff didn't matter to me,
I mean, you're right. Gameplay always comes before graphics, but even still, the grass, like, you can just see it generating in front of you because Sonic is so fast, and to me, that was very distracting. And I think I would just have a much better time on, for example, PlayStation 5. I mean, I've seen clips of it, and it looks really good compared to on Switch. And I'm not taking anything away from the people who did the port. It's like, it runs fairly stable. I mean, that props to them.
I am gobsmacked at how stable it is. It just seemed like a perfect opportunity for a game to be running that quickly as well, constantly loading in new assets.
Yeah, that is impressive.
And it's pretty damn stable. It's not perfect, but my God, it is far beyond playable,
Yeah, of course. And I'm just saying that I think I would find it more enjoyable on better hardware. Because it is a game about like speed and going as fast as possible. But I think I want to talk about like what you guys think of the boss fights, because I don't know.
Sure.
So I felt that was like one of the most clunky aspects of the game. Like, you're just running around on this Titan, falling off, dying, and then retrying again.
I understand where you're coming from, and I do feel that the bosses are a little bit janky in places. Like, certainly if you get hit, then the camera angle can get a bit sort of like funky, and Sonic's animation can be a bit stiff. But the music and the atmosphere and the fact that I'm a long-time Sonic player, so I expect a degree of jank, and in a way, it even becomes ever so slightly charming, which that's a problem with me, but it's something that I can at least get some enjoyment out of. I actually really enjoyed the boss fights, jank and all. It was that kind of, wow, this is over the top, this is silly, but it's also kind of awesome.
Maybe I was just really bad, especially when you like get all the Chaos Emeralds. I just couldn't nail down the parry mechanic. I kept getting hit over and over.
You can just hold it down. You don't need to time it.
Dude,
are you
what? I am right there with you, Felix.
Are you serious? I couldn't, like, I think I spent 20 minutes on...
The game does tell you.
It's really weird about its wording. Like, because I spent like an hour on that first boss, because I just, like Felix, I couldn't figure out the parry mechanic either. I was like, no way is it as simple as you can hold it down, right? Like, because honestly, like, we don't have to spend a ton of time on that, but the parry mechanic is almost too simple. And I'm thinking they made it that way, like, for the kids, so kids could play this and like not have to stress, or just people that don't want to play Dark Souls Sonic, then they don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I'm sorry Felix, the parry, you just hold it.
I'm sorry too. I feel such a noob right
Dude,
now.
Like I said, I played that boss over and over. I didn't even realize, like, I was so focused on like the middle of the screen, and I've played Sonic games before. I knew Super Sonic cost rings. I was just like, what is this timer? Like, why is this happening? Like,
yeah, I need to beat it now. Come on.
Yeah, like, I kid you not, I started a timer on my phone to figure out exactly how long Sonic would survive. And then eventually, like, it clicked for me that it was rings, and I was like, Xeon, you are so stupid.
The only reason I could beat it was that I actually went around and just, like, I grabbed all the rings, because, like, you could just run in a ring and then, like, coins would generate.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh, yes.
So I went to full, and then I would have as much time as possible to try and nail this parry mechanic, which I just couldn't figure out.
Dude, I loaded an old save file and went back because I thought I couldn't get any more rings. I forgot about the spin circle.
Psyloop.
Yeah, I forgot about the Psyloop. Ugh.
I tell you what, there is very, very unrelated, but there's a really cool thing with the Psyloop. If you make the infinity symbol, so the sideways 8, or just an 8, because it doesn't matter, you can boost forever for like a couple of minutes.
Whoa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've done that before and noticed like a little symbol appeared, but
They don't tell you in the game.
That's what I mean. There's so much stuff the game just like it isn't very clear about, and like.
But you see,
when
I think that's intentional. I think that is meant to be a bonus if you work it out. You know, it's a little secret because you don't need infinite boost.
Oh yeah, with that, but it's more stuff like, for example, it says you need 1 key to access. I have 6 keys. What's going on?
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing that it says you need +1 key, and it's so tiny that it's very easy to miss.
That I do feel that was a really weird choice, and I don't think it was the best one.
Yeah.
I think it should just say you need this many keys, and have the text in green if you've got enough, or red if you don't, or something like that. Simple.
Yeah. It's just stuff like that annoys me quite a bit.
what about having to watch Sonic like hurl a bunch of hearts at Amy for like 10 seconds every
Oh my God.
Just skip it. Hold the A button. Skip it.
I know
Yeah,
you
you
can.
But still.
But yeah, it's just so interesting.
It's like entering a shrine all over again in Breath of the Wild.
Felix. Okay. That honestly that
We weren't gonna mention that game.
we weren't? Because I feel like we can't get away with
I'm joking.
Oh, okay, I was like, I feel like we can't get away without it. And honestly, that was something I wanted to bring up was, I love Breath of the Wild. I'm really liking Sonic Frontiers a lot, but I wonder if the game draws from Breath of the Wild like almost an uncomfortable amount at times, and not just for the fact that there's an open world and that there's climbing and that there's collectibles, but I think sometimes the sound effects really get me, like when you solve a puzzle in the overworld and there's just like a little
like the small
yeah.
piano notes when you're running around in the start.
Yeah, and I've said enough about that, but
Well, I feel it feels very differently
Yeah?
than Breath
Okay.
of the Wild. Feels more similar to Mario Odyssey if we can compare. You have small mini games instead of like gaining power moons, you gain stuff so you can
Yeah.
open cyberspace levels, and it may from the theme it may be similar to Breath of the Wild, but I just felt it was much more akin to an open sandbox.
that's good because I thought that was going to be like maybe a big reason why you just weren't enjoying Frontiers was because it was so not, I don't want to say close to Breath of the Wild, but yeah, that it just borrowed so many things. And I know Breath of the Wild is like one of your favorite games, at least last time we checked, I think it was. So that's interesting though. Yeah, there's all these like just silly little things sprinkled around the game that I'm just enjoying, even though it's like a mess at times and the boss battles are weird. Like, I talked about in the sponsor video that I did how that first boss battle track blew my mind. And for I want to talk all about that so badly, but I want to keep that experience pure for everybody else that, plays the game and grew up with the music that singer has also done. And but yeah, it's weird. I think I have a bit of I shouldn't say bias, but it's like I like Sonic, so I think that's why I went into this game.
I like
too.
Sonic.
Yeah, I like the boy. It's all right. But
I like Sonic as well.
yeah.
I think what was most refreshing for me was that when I first started playing this game, I didn't know what to expect. I was a little bit concerned, and I booted it up, and I was like within maybe like half an hour, 50 minutes, I was like, oh my God, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun in a 3D modern Sonic game. And it was just like I didn't immediately know how to feel, but it was elating, absolutely elating. I was so expecting something to fall down, like something significant about the game to fall down. And it has its problems, but the core, for me, it just ticks those boxes and just makes me very happy.
I'm really glad to hear that you guys enjoy the game, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change my view, and that's okay.
Oh God, no. I don't bemoan anyone who doesn't enjoy the game. It's just a game at the end of the day. you know, your criticisms are valid 100%. And it's the same with, well, presumably a lot of other people. I haven't read every review out there, but like Ollie, his reservations about the game, completely understandable. They don't mesh with my opinions of the game, but I think that's what makes this game so interesting to discuss, is that it seems to have this hugely divisive impact on people. It makes it one of the most, honestly, one of the most exciting games to discuss, because you've got these such extreme opinions and not even like outliers. It seems very divided overall, you know, between Sonic fans and non-Sonic fans. You know, some non-Sonic fans are loving it, some Sonic fans are loving it, and it goes the other way as well. I think it's absolutely fascinating. It's such a fascinating situation, and I love the fact that we can have this discourse and that there is enough variety in opinion that people are sitting down and going, okay, so what is the situation? And there is no clear result. And I just think that that's really refreshing and really mature as well. So if you have any thoughts about Sonic Frontiers that you want to share, maybe you love it, maybe you hate it, maybe you sort of feel, nah, it's okay, let us know in the comments down below. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you do a little side loop around that subscribe button, even if you don't like it, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
But a supersonic racing here to take the outro out.